Is a fifth year student here in Clot the Clavin, and I'm delighted to be interviewing her today because she has an amazing background in aviation that she's going to tell us all about this morning. Aviation, for anyone that doesn't know, is anything that is related to flights, flying, the airport, etc. So I'm delighted that you're able to talk to me today, Lily. So I suppose my first question to you is, who has influenced you in the area of aviation?
Yeah, so basically, aviation's been a big part of my life because, like, my cousin's a pilot. He's a pilot and he's a flight instructor. He's always been in aviation, and my dad loves everything aviation, so that's been a big part. And then my mum does work and travel, so it's always been in like my family. But yeah, so it's like I remember even I think it was 3 or 4. My first time I was in a little small plane. So like it's always been around planes and travel and stuff. So yeah.
And would your cousin and your dad have much conversations then around aviation?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like they do be like anytime they're talking, it's always to do with planes or aviation or something to do with like anything that's going on at the time. Like my dad does an article that he and my cousin helps on it, that they write about what's happening in Ireland at the time. So it's always a big conversation in the house. And anytime we're out for family meals or seeing my like extended family, it's always talks about planes then. But yeah.
So the article that you're talking about there, that's in an aviation magazine, is it?
So they used to do a magazine. It's called Flying in Ireland, and now it's all on like the internet, so anybody can kind of access it. And I've done a few articles. And when I did my work experience, I did an article on it, and I did an article about the Aran Islands a few years ago as well. So I've done a few.
Okay, so they talk about kind of aviation within Ireland itself.
Within Ireland, yeah. So it's like what's happening at the time, like if there's any like big news on the airlines or anything, it's all about that.
Okay, very good. So last March, I know you came to me and I was shocked that you told me that you'd done your first solo flight down in Clonbelogue in Offaly. So you might tell us a small bit about Clonbelogue first of all. I know it might have changed since, but maybe you could just tell us a small bit about Clonbelogue. What was there, or what is there?
Yeah, so Clonbelogue is an airfield. It's a grass airfield that the Irish Parachute Club own. So my flying club, Fun Fly Aerosports, they were renting the space down there. They had like room in the hangar, and they had like an office space that they let them use. We've moved out of there now, but they basically do parachute jumps there every weekend, and yeah, it's a nice airfield that we trained at for about 3 years. They were there before I started, and then now they've moved back out of it. But yeah.
Okay, so you just mentioned there the hangar. So just for anyone on the call who doesn't know what a hangar is, can you just tell us a small bit about what is a hangar?
It's for like easy terms, like a big shed, and it just stores like aircraft and like materials and any like the engines or any like the materials that they need for aviation.
Yeah, so last year I actually went up to Dublin Airport to look at the hangar, which, as you described, as a massive shed. But for anyone interested in the engineering side or kind of working with planes, you'd be working in the hangar, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a big shed and the door is open and let the planes out. So it fits the planes up in Dublin Airport. So it is pretty big. And so sometimes when people talk about the hangar, they don't, the hangar at Dublin Airport, they never see it because it's kind of hidden behind the runways. But okay, so just going back to your solo flight. So obviously you would have had to get flying lessons up to that point. So can you talk me through maybe your first flying lesson? How did it feel?
Yeah, so I'd been up in a small plane before with my cousin and like even my dad, but like with one of his friends. But then I done a flight probably the year before my actual first lesson, and that's kind of when I found out that that's kind of what I wanted to do. So then it was about 2 weeks before the end of first year, I did my first lesson with my cousin, and I basically it was just crazy. Like I was in my cousin, and it was really nice. And we just we did like a lesson. So it was just like a simple lesson. I like had the controls for a few minutes, but we were basically just looking at the views and everything that's going on in the plane at the time. But yeah, so that was like my first lesson, and then it kind of moved on. And then I changed my instructor because I couldn't have my cousin doing it all the time because that's like family stuff. So then basically I just do lessons, and I kind of work towards like different milestones in the flying lessons and stuff like that. So like I then started like doing the landings, and then I would do the takeoffs on by myself, and then my instructor would be beside me, and at some stage he actually had to take out his phone and make sure I know that he's not helping, basically. So I'm able to like do it on my own. But yeah.
Okay. So with your first flying lesson, where did you fly to?
Yeah, so that I did from Clonbelogue, and I went over my house, so I was able to, like, my mom was in the garden, so she was waving up and stuff like that, and my cousins were out. But that was like my first lesson, and then it kind of just like some lessons like you'd go to, like I've been over loads of places, over like kind of Mead and Westmead, like I've been over the school a few times. So it's been quite cool, like being over different places. Yeah.
So do you still do your lessons from Clonbelogue, or has that changed?
That's changed. So now we're in Benfield, so that's out beside Portarlington. So it's about 5 minutes from Portarlington. It's a smaller runway, but it's nice because we have our own space. We don't have to share with any other planes. And it's a really nice training airfield, because even when I then did solo flights on my own, I'd be able to go off, like leave the field and go over to like Portarlington and then fly around there and go back in. So it is quite nice because it's so close, and like they can see me on the ground and I can still see the airfield. So I'm never not seen, which is quite nice as well. But yeah.
Okay. And how often are you doing your flying lessons?
It kind of depends, because the weather in Ireland's a big like thing that, like, obviously a lot of lessons get cancelled. But when I started, we kind of said like once a month, kind of. And it does definitely, like, I do tend to get a lesson once a month, but then that could also be two lessons. It depends. Like a lot of them do get cancelled. I think it was in my first year, I think I got 8 lessons cancelled in the row just because of the weather. So a lot of the time it is just the weather that wrecks it.
So are you constantly looking at weather charts?
Yeah, a lot of the time I'm checking the weather like the week before a lesson, and then I see, oh no, it's raining at the weekend. It's probably not going to happen, or there's frost or something. Like last weekend, obviously with the really bad rain, the field was waterlogged, so like nobody was able to go flying. So it's quite hard, especially when we're on a grass runway. It doesn't help.
Okay, that's interesting. So I know you have done your work experience in fifth year up to Dublin Airport, and I was delighted that you're going up there for kind of a different experience, not the flying part, but
Yeah.
something different. Can you tell us a small bit about your work with AirNav Ireland?
Yeah, so I first kind of like heard about AirNav back last year. I was at the Girls in Aviation Day down from AirNav and control and stuff. Like, and I'd never thought about it. Like, and it was always kind of more the pilot side of things. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting, and it sounds like something that I might enjoy. So I basically back in about February time, when I would pick my subjects for fifth year, I got in contact with them, basically just wondering like what's the requirements for subjects. But I also asked, is there any work experience? And I heard about the TY program, so I was in fifth year, but I was able to do it. And it was basically a 2-day course. The first day was up in town in their headquarters, and then the second day was out at the airport. We basically got to learn everything that happened in AirNav, and then we got like a tour of the whole like facilities out in Dublin Airport. So we got to get a tour of the tower, and we got to do like the simulators, like how it works, and we got to see people actually like working there, which was quite cool. Seeing like the background for aviation, because like you never would see that on a day-to-day. And even before I started my lessons, I never would have thought how many people go into it. But yeah.
Okay, so just AirNav. Can you explain a small bit about what AirNav is for those that don't understand? So you mentioned there the tower
Yeah.
and the busyness of it, but can you tell us what a person in AirNav will be doing?
Yeah, so AirNav is air traffic control. So they're like making sure everything's safe up in the air, making sure like all the planes are spaced out correctly, and no commercial aircraft can go anywhere without an air traffic controller telling them what to do. A pilot is nearly just sitting back and hearing what other people are telling them to do. They're just doing it, where people have to tell them before they can do it. So if there's no air traffic controllers, pilots or planes can't go anywhere.
Okay, and you mentioned their headquarters up in Dublin. So are they actually doing AirNav from an office in Dublin? No.
So no, so in their offices it's basically just like they have like their HR team and stuff like that, and like their offices are shared with another company, but that's basically like their offices are just kind of like their marketing teams and stuff like that. Where out in the airport is where all the actual stuff happens, like with the actual air traffic controllers and the radar workers and stuff like that. So yeah.
So I know when people mention AirNav, they think straight away of, oh, it's so much stress because you are trying to direct lots of flights in and out of Dublin Airport or flights that might be passing through and on again. Was it very stressful when you were sitting up there watching them?
No, not really. 'Cause the work environment there is really calm. Like that's the one thing. Everybody who was on this program, we were all like, "Oh, it's going to be like really stressful and all." We got up there and they're all kind of like chatting and they're talking to us and telling us what's happening, and we're like, "It's a really nice environment to be in." As we said, like it's one of those places that you'd think it's really high stress, but it really wasn't. Even just watching them, it was just like it was really nice because just to see them how they work. Um, which was really nice, and definitely an environment that you'd want to work in. Like even like a lot of people would stereotype that job to be very high stress, but they're always working as a team. Like yes, you're doing what you're doing on your own, but there's always people around to help you if you're stuck with something. In both the tower and the radar, like the radar center is like a dark room basically, and there's just screens, about 20 screens, and people working at them. And then in the tower, you're looking out the window, but also you're on a shift, you're shift working it, but you're not allowed to work for more than 2 hours at a time. So you have to have breaks in that 2 hours because it is like it can get busy at times. Like the time we were up there is about 12 o'clock. It wasn't as busy. Like they finished the morning rush or whatever. But it like a lot of people do say it's stressful, but when you actually do look into it, it's not as stressful as people think.
Okay, so when they take their break after the 2 hours, that's interesting. Do they go down the tower or they stay within
So
the
it's the tower is really tall. Like there's thousands of stairs. Like people like I think when they moved into the new tower, because there was an old one that was like quarter the size of the new one. And people would be like, oh yeah, we'll walk up and down, it's like get exercise and stuff like that. And after 2 days they were like, no, we're not doing that anymore because the lifts just take you straight up. There is like a break room at the bottom, like on the bottom floor, so a lot of people will just like go up and down, but it's only a half an hour break when they have like their 2 hour shifts. It's not their lunch. So a lot of people will kind of just go down if there's like a restroom like just a few floors under like where the actual control tower is. So they'll tend to just go there and rest and stuff like that, or just go downstairs and get some food and come back up kind of. But yeah, because a lot of the times the lift might not be working. There might be only one lift working, so it it depends kind of if the lifts are working or not.
Okay. So you mentioned there you were working on the simulator, which is basically a pretend system where you're
Yeah.
working on it. So was there anything else that stood out for you on your work experience that made you think, yeah, this is definitely aviation is definitely where I want to be?
Yeah, definitely like seeing the actual people, like the actual controllers at work. Um, like I'd always kind of thought of the pilot side of things, but now like looking at like air traffic control side, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like I get to work with aviation and I get to help the pilots do what they have to do. Um, but then even if it was those sides, it's I think it's just still really cool. Um, aviation, there's so many different areas in it. Like not just like like you have like the engineering side of it obviously, but then also you have like the business side of it, like how a business works. So it's definitely something that aviation is definitely something that I'll work within.
Yeah, and that's something that stood out for me the day I went up just to see. It was actually with Aer Lingus and all the jobs that they have. The engineers, people who look after the planes in the
Yeah,
hangar. You mentioned there about the navigation part of it. Then you have the pilots, etc. Then you have the people who work on the planes and flying. So there's a huge broad range of jobs there, and they do a lot of amazing apprenticeships up in Dublin Airport as well. Just for you within aviation, what skills do you think are really important if you were to go into aviation?
yeah, it's quite hard because like obviously like everybody has different skills and everything's like great for it, but definitely something like it's not even as I don't even know what you call this a skill, but definitely you have to have like confidence in yourself. Like that's definitely something I'd worked on. Becoming in like doing like the flying lessons and stuff like that. And like definitely another skill is definitely being able to think ahead is definitely something. Like when you're flying, you have to think of what's happening in the next 2 minutes. Like once like everything's settled or everything, but you have to remember, like, are you going to have to talk to someone in the next 2 minutes or whatever, or even the next 10 or 15 minutes? What are you going to have to do? So definitely thinking ahead is another thing. But like one of those things, like you don't have to have it, you can work on it. I was definitely not good at doing that when I first started, and now it's gotten a lot better now. But yeah.
Okay, and just I'm going to talk about your back to your lessons again. But what age can you be to start flying a plane?
You can be really any age starting. The only difference is you have to be 16 when you can do your first solo. So I was 16 back in February. So I did my solo then the week after, so in the March. And that's really the only like age requirement that you have to be. With your solo then as well, you only have to have about 12 hours to do it. Now, since I was so young starting, since I was 14, I had about 2 years to like wait. So I had about 25, but it's really just once you're 16, you can do anything really. But it's just more you have to it's at starting age doesn't matter then.
Okay, and what is one thing that has surprised you from doing your flying lessons?
Probably the amount of people that go into it. Like it's not just like the pilot and the aircraft. It's like obviously you have the engineers, or even like where I fly, whatever. It's like there's not like engineer team like coming out checking all the planes. Like one of the lads down there, he does some lessons or whatever, but like he'd also like be checking the planes, the maintenance on them. And that's something that like I didn't think. And also like talking to like an actual control center. So like I never knew that I'd be talking to Dublin or Shannon. So like sometimes since we're in like the middle of Ireland, we do talk to Shannon, but there's also been times we've gone up to Weston, so like another airfield, and we've had to talk to Dublin. So I never knew that like a little small two-seater plane talks to these bigger airports. Because like down where we fly, we just talk through a radio. So someone on the ground has a radio, and sometimes there's not anybody on the radio. If there's nobody else down there, if it's just me and my instructor, like there's nobody on the radio all the time. But where like when you're talking to Dublin and Shannon, obviously there's someone going to be talking back to you.
Okay, that's really cool, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was up in Dublin Airport, I was in the radar room, and one of the girls working there, she was saying, "Yeah, I just see all your planes, like all the regs that I do fly. She just see them on the screen, so it's really weird. Like I don't think that they're watching me."
It's so funny. You're up in there thinking it's just you and
Yeah.
you're by yourself, but you actually
Yeah.
have lots of people. And then I suppose that comes up as well on there is an app where you can look up you can look up the
Yeah.
different flights in the air. So that's something that you can track on that, is it?
Yeah. So like I think it's like Flight Radar or something like that. There's some of them.
Yeah.
And there's been a few times that I've like my dad had seen me on them, but like even like you have to be at certain heights and over certain areas. But with people in like the radar rooms, they can always see. It doesn't matter what height you're at. Like they're always watching all over the airspace over Ireland. But yeah, it's weird because I never thought that they'd be able to see me up until I met that girl who actually watches.
I think that's very cool. How do you
Yeah.
balance your schoolwork with your flying?
So up until this year, it's been very easy because my lessons have always been at the weekend. I think I've only had three lessons maybe like after school. So it's been really like that was always fine. This year it's been a lot harder because I'm getting into my exams now. So to get your private pilot's license, you need to have 9 exams done. So these are like written exams, not flying exams. So before midterm in October, every Saturday I had grain school. So that's like all the theory work, because like basically another day of school, that I'd be down at the flying club till 4:30 in the evening, and I would be learning about something different every day, like about the engine, about the aircraft. And so that was a lot, like doing 6 days of school. And then now I'm planning on doing my first set of exams now in the end of January. So now it's like once my Christmas exams are over, it'll be all study for my flying exam. So it'll be it's more balanced in school and flying now. But like knowing that like hopefully by next summer and by the time I get into 6th year I could have my license. That's the only thing now that's kind of getting me through that. To know that I'll actually be able to go off and fly when I want to fly. So yeah.
That's very cool. So you mentioned those exams, the 9 exams. Are they done
Yeah.
online, or are they done at a certain point in the year? Does everyone do them at the same time?
So there's nearly every month the IAA, so the Ireland Aviation Authority, they they hold these exams nearly once a month, or like it's usually once a month. There'll be a month that they skip, but they usually do, like you can decide when you want to do them, which is really good. But you have 9 exams to do, which you have 6 sittings to do them in. So you have to have the 9 done within the 6, and the passing rate is 75%. So if you fail it, then you have to resit it. And the only other bad thing about it is you have 18 months to finish all 9 of them. Like that doesn't sound too bad, but when it's such a high passing rate as well, it's quite hard to do them all. But yeah, so my plan at the minute is to hopefully get them all done by the summertime, or like just before the summer. So then I can do my actual flying test then, that an instructor is a flight instructor sitting in the plane with me and examining me on that. So realistically, you'll have about 10 exams, which are flying exams included. But you have 9 like written exams. They are on computers and stuff, and you do them in a center. But yeah.
And I know once you have your license, there is regular, you have to go on a simulator to kind of go through some stuff again, just to make sure that you're keeping in line with, up to date those policies.
With your PPL, a lot like the flight school, they might do like a little checkup with you, or even like if like you feel like, oh, I might like the winds are a bit different today, I might want someone just to jump in just to go do a circ with me. They'll have no problem doing that. They just want to make sure you're comfortable in the plane. Obviously, when you're flying with an airline, there's a lot more checkups, and like every year you'll do like a simulator test and stuff like that. But also you have to keep your medical license up to date. So I have to get my medical for my first solo, and then for your PPL you need to do that every 5 years, and then when you have a commercial it's every 1 to 2 years, because you have to make sure you're healthy, and to make sure you're actually able to be flying, because obviously you don't want anything like health related to happen once you're flying.
So the commercial is the smaller planes, is that right?
Commercials like your airlines.
Oh, the airlines. Oh, sorry. Okay. So just in terms of then subjects, you mentioned there you had got on about kind of what subjects you're going to pick. Would you recommend picking any particular subjects if you wanted to go into this area?
Yeah, so the one good thing about aviation, a lot of the time you don't need specific subjects, and even like you don't need like higher maths, or like you can do like your lower levels, because a lot of people, they find them a lot harder or whatever. But like with aviation, like if you're it depends what area you're going into. Obviously, if you're going into the engineering side, you're obviously going to need engineering for that. A lot of people think you need physics for like to be a pilot. Yes, it can help you, but if you're not great at physics, or you don't really want it, you don't have to pick it in that kind of way. Geography is a good one. I'm doing geography at the minute. I never did it for my junior cert, so I only picked it up this year. But yeah, and then obviously if you want to go into like the business side, like with the airline management, business is a good subject to have. But I kind of picked the subjects that I enjoyed for my junior cert, or picked subjects that I were better at, which then obviously can help you with your leaving cert. Because a lot of the time with any like the courses with the airlines, so like the any cadetships, like an airline funded program, and with like an air traffic control student program, they don't require subjects and they don't require points. They just need like, I think it's like 2 H5s in any subject, and then you can do I think it's like an O6 and a H4 in your maths. So it is quite good that you have that flexibility, and not needing a certain amount of points in your leaving cert.
Yeah, that's amazing advice, Ellie. And I suppose looking at advice then on your work placement that you just completed, did anyone give you any advice that you're working with that you were like, that's really good advice?
They were always kind of like, when I tell them like I'm like doing like my flying lessons, they'd always say, oh yeah, we'll keep going with it because it's like amazing to do. And then also because like girls in aviation, there's a lot less girls than men. It's always women and men and stuff. Like it's always like a male dominated industry. So a lot of the time, like when you're talking to like any like women or like in the industry, they're all like, oh, it's great, just keep going at it, because like they're all like yeah, get the more girls we get into it, the better. So like everybody kind of just said like keep going, and an advice that they kind of give, like it can't be just more like nearly don't stress about it as well. Like yeah, okay, like at the minute I'm like all my flying stuff, like I'm having and I'm enjoying it. Like it's not like I'm sitting down like, and I'm like stressing about it. I'm going to do my flying lesson for enjoyment as well. Like for school, I'm like, oh, I have a flying lesson the weekend, so I'm going to enjoy it. Like with your exams, obviously, it's more like you have to sit down and do them. But everybody just kind of says enjoy it, because it's always like, it's the same with like when I did my first solo, everybody's like, you're never going to forget that day and you're not going to forget the feeling. And only afterwards I was like, oh yes, now I know. Like they'd always just say enjoy it. And don't like always like look out as well, because like even like with the views, you don't even know, like the views you don't think about, because you're always thinking about like looking in, like looking at everything, but you have to be looking outside as well. With school you're always told don't look out the window, but with flying it's a bit different.
Okay, so what do you find most exciting about flying then?
It's with flying. I always thought like with flying, I always like, I nearly feel like once I get like a landing right or something, I always find that really exciting. Like once I get like a smooth landing, because there's been some bumpy ones. um, but definitely like even like the feeling afterwards, because like after I do a lesson or after I go like do a solo flight, for days afterwards, I'm always like, oh, that was so cool. I can't stop talking about it. So I've always found that. And then even like places that I've gone over, like even going over to school, like I thought that was like that day was really cool, that I got to see like over the school. Like every day I walk into the school buildings, you think about it from the ground or like inside the school, but like seeing it from above, it was really cool as well. So it's definitely like the place I've gone over, and then the feeling of like completing something is definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so you're in fifth year now, next year is sixth year. So then what is the plan? Even though you've accomplished it, but what is the plan for after leaving cert?
So my plan is I'm going to apply for the Aer Lingus cadetship, or any airline cadetship. So they're fully paid for programs that the airlines run. So with Aer Lingus, you go over to Spain for 14 months, and then you'll do all your flight training and like your exams over there. And then once you come back, you'll have about 4 months in a simulator. So then you get like your rating for like an Airbus or whatever, like for your actual like your actual big, like your big planes, because when you're in Spain you're only really doing like a 2 or 4 seater plane, so you need to be able to obviously fly your 300 passenger seater planes. um and then that's definitely something I'm going to plan on applying for. Now they're very hard to get into. A lot of people apply and usually they only put on about 16 people twice a year, so that's about 30 people a year to go to them, so they're very hard to get into. And then I'm also planning on applying for the with that you go into Shannon years, and you'll get
So
all your
repeat the second part because it just froze on screen, just in case it doesn't come through.
okay, yeah. So what, sorry?
The second thing you want to apply for.
Oh yeah. So the second thing I'm going to apply for is the air traffic control student program. So that's run by AirNav. You're down in Shannon for 2 years, and then you're usually working in Shannon down for like a year or whatever, but you can transfer then up to Dublin or Cork. But yeah, I'm planning on applying for both of them, and we'll kind of see what happens. But for the minute, that's my plan. I can't apply for them till the year after, so I'll just hope that something like that will
Yeah,
happen.
they are amazing opportunities for anyone who is interested in flying because, as you are aware, flying is quite an expensive sport.
Yeah,
So with the Aer Lingus program, they fund it all. And I know you have to travel to Spain, but it is an amazing opportunity. So our fingers are definitely crossed for you on that one, Lily. What advice would you give to other students who might be interested in aviation?
probably get yourself out there is definitely a big one. In like a lot of people think it's such a big industry, but it's really not when you're like looking at it. Like with my cousin, he was always going to places and going to talk to people, and he was always get like kind of like networking with people. Same with my dad, that's how he kind of like got to know people um in the industry. So definitely like get yourself to know, like getting talking to people, and definitely going to like different like trade shows. Like I was at the Pilots Careers Live last year, and that was very good. I got to talk to different, like I got to talk to people with the Aer Lingus cadet program, and lots of different like with the military and stuff like that. Like that's all parts that you could do and go into it. It's very good. Also like I was at the Girls in Aviation Day. That was also a really good one because that was all like females in aviation, and it's really cool just getting to see them. Like just to get to talk to people is definitely a big one. Also, like even if you go to like a little airfield or air show, like you just like you could be talking to someone random, but they could be like ahead of some like mad like thing. And that's the thing. It's like once like you're talking to people is definitely something. Getting your name out there is definitely helping. Yeah, because I've talked to a few people now, and like obviously my dad and my cousin, like their name, like they would know. Like when I say Lily Dwyer, they do know Dwyer is probably linked to them. But like once you get like how they just got to talking to people, and that's how they kind of got known. So definitely just get yourself out there and talk. And I know that's hard because I'm not really like a person who would kind of get myself out there, but like it really does help when you do know people.
Okay, so Lily, we've come to an end of our interview. That was absolutely insanely amazing. You are so modest, and I always say this to you, you've accomplished so much and you're only in fifth year. And you gave us great tips on that call. So I'm sure someone will get something from that. So I really appreciate you talking to me today. And no doubt we'll be hearing Captain Lily on some plane when I'm going on my lovely holiday during the summer, sometime in the near future. But thanks a million for joining me this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Bye.